I'm Franklin Walther. I'm the Digital Services Librarian here at the Mill Valley Public Library. I was never a coder at a big software company. I did a little bit of IT work. I'm not some computer science professor. I'm kind of just a guy. But what I am is a librarian and an advocate for you rather than a shill for any tech product. And I think voices like mine, not just mine, but voices like mine are really important to hear as well as all the Super Bowl ads, you get fed from technology. So a second opinion is always helpful, I hope. So that's me. And what are we doing here today? If you're here for digital literacy class, there's too much technology, actually, then you're in the right place. Chose a couple of pictures here to juxtapose what our hopes for technology were. That's a big word, of course. That's everything from a hammer or the inclined plane or the wheel to AI nonsense. So we had these beautiful dreams. Here's Star Trek. It's the future. Everything's really clean. Golden Gate Bridge in perfect condition. Mwah. Starfleet's cool-looking buildings. We can go to space anytime we want. It's going to be great. Where are we right now? Not on that path. Here's San Francisco. Artisans won't complain about work-life balance. The era of AI employees is here, juxtaposed with the people who are left behind from all this technology. Now, this class is the beginning of a 4-part series on digital literacy. What is digital literacy? It's a great library word, and it's, it can be a lot of things. Of course, increasing your familiarity with technology, that's an object of digital literacy. Using your devices, knowing what's going on, that sort of thing. Preparing and defending against the many dangers out there. How can we help arm you against being hacked or tricked and phished and spoofed? All that terrible stuff you might run into. Recognizing the misinformation and the filter bubbles that we're in. What does all this technology do to our understanding of truth, if that even means anything anymore? So trying to raise awareness and educate ourselves about that. But more and more relevant, I think, is also understanding the social effects of this focus, obsession with technology, and its dark side too, because there are very dark sides. Again, this is the beginning of this series of classes. There will be other topics. The longer this situation goes on and gets worse, the more I think we have to start from a 30,000-foot view of where we've come, or where we could go, and what is the problem with some of these technologies. And how do we regain a little control of it for our own lives and our own technology? That's my mission. And we have several chapters in this presentation, and there's too much something. So I think it's a beautiful structure. We'll start off with there's too much, and this is a wonderful word. There's too much in shitification. This is a delightful word. You could say platform decay if you want to be a little less spicy about it. Where does this word come from? Cory Doctorow is a science fiction author, longtime sort of technology in the public interest advocate. A few years ago in Wired magazine, he wrote an article outlining his theory of enshittification. What happens to platforms, particularly thinking of like social media, online e-commerce, that kind of thing. Seeing a progression among lots of them that led to a bad place. And he recently expanded this into a book, which is wonderful, and that is a wonderful, great first introduction to a lot of these problems, with examples, with receipts, with humor, with ideas of what to do to try and correct the course. And like me, he's Canadian, so it's almost like having him here, because A lot of the advice you'll get from people who are not just trying to sell you something or hype something up is going to be converging, which is encouraging to me because I think I'm on the right track now. Okay, in his words exactly, here is how platforms die. First, they are good to their users. Then they abuse their users to make things better for their business customers, a platform being something in between two groups, users, advertisers, or users and other users, to make things better for their business customers. And finally, they abuse those business customers to claw back all the value for themselves, and then they die, or as he says, become a giant pile of shit. If I were to rephrase this a little, if it's another way to think about it, but the same thing, phase one, grow as rapidly as you can. You see all these startups, they're like, we've raised however many billions in our rounds of venture funding, and they have all these terms that I'm not going to bother to learn. It does not interest me at all. But the idea is, get the money, grow, scale. We're doing software so we can just get it in front of everybody. We want to aim for dominating the sector. We want to be the first mover in this new field, or at the very least, grow until one of the giant companies notices us and buys us. And then we go on to the next adventure. All right, let's say we do successfully grow. We're Facebook in the early to mid 2000s. We grow, we're great. Everyone's like, wow, I can talk to my old friends. Now it's time to entrap everyone, now that we have wandered into their web. Lock users into your service. FOMO, what is that? Fear of missing out. Everybody's on this platform. You aren't. And if you leave, you can't talk to your friends anymore. Algorithmically, there's a turning point in most of these platforms where instead of letting you see just what your friends are doing, now they feed you something that they think you'll be interested in. How do they determine that? Some secretive algorithm. Why are they doing that? Probably to target advertisements at you and to keep you engaged. They'll feed you something they know you're going to stick to. Now you're trapped, and now they extract, suck out the maximum profit, disregard or actively make your product worse. It doesn't matter. We're pulling money out of this. It's kind of a grim pattern. You see it a lot. Why does this happen? Well, welcome to late capitalism. That's a term that has been used since the early 20th century, but I was born in 1981, and the entire time I've been alive, we have been making things better and better for big business and encouraging more and more economic separation, inequality. And this isn't you could feel good about that or bad about that. I'm not telling you how to feel about that, but saying it's not happening is not really supportable. And I think we can see this in tech companies specifically. They now float far above us groveling around on the ground. They are in the distant heights. We can barely be seen up there. The richest companies and the asset-owning class that's doing real well, the rest of the economy might not be great, but boy, it's a great time to own a whole lot of assets. And if you're a big company, you can buy your stock back, boost that price even more. CEOs are paid based on how the stock price is doing. So a lot of incentives push companies and providers to this behavior. It's a whole different world up there in the stock market, and good for them, I guess, but it leads to things like, well, we're not getting enough out of these expensive fridges we're selling you. So Samsung, their fancy fridges have screens on them. A fridge really needs to keep your food cold, but it's not exciting if it doesn't have a giant screen on it. And what better use of that giant screen than to show you ads while you're approaching your fridge? I cannot afford one of these fridges, and I'm kind of happy to say that. So we have a crust kind of on top of the mantle. It's the continents floating around as a crust who are in a different economic world than the rest of us. And the way we're going, the future of perhaps whoever wins capitalism, I don't know, is going to be maybe rent feudalism. Kind of going to go back to the past. We're going to have subscriptions to everything. In 2016, this is the World Economic Forum article. Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. That's a very positive spin on what, if we really think about it, sounds like a big backslide. Why does everything we do require a subscription these days? Because it's more money over more time for the companies that can impose it. It's not enough for you to buy a product. That's just once. We need to keep that money coming in. So you get things like, now BMW did step back a little bit from its most ridiculous choice, where it was thinking about charging a subscription fee for the heated seats. I don't know why a seat heater would need an ongoing subscription, but it's a way to get more money. People were a little upset about that, but they're gonna step back a little bit and then work on this in a different angle, something that people won't be quite so angry about. But still, what's the metaphor? Boiling the frog slowly. Do any of you have a Hewlett-Packard HP printer? And have you bought many, many hellaciously expensive ink cartridges for it? By the way, inkjet printers burn off a little of that ink just to sort of clean themselves and get ready to print. So this stuff that by weight is far more expensive than the finest champagne in the world. Even that's not enough to sell you these little things. They have a subscription for ink. And along with that, another great thing these companies can do is you are locked into HP inks only. Don't try to refill that cartridge because a little chip in there knows. Don't try to use some other company's cartridge because the printer will be like, I don't use that ink. I use HP ink. Those of you who have your Teslas, there's going to be a subscription for the lane keeping feature that most other new cars just do that. But Elon needs a little money. He hasn't been all that responsible, I guess. So I remember George W. Bush saying we wanted an ownership society. Well, I guess the idea has changed because now I think the goal is just constantly suck us dry from money. Speaking of some of these people, there's too much veneration of tech leaders. We continue to consider these people the smartest, the best, the job creators, the innovators. Here they are at the second Trump inauguration, making themselves seen, making sure that everyone knows they gave a lot of money to the big inauguration committee. We got our friend Elon Musk over here. He might be on ketamine at this point and just kind of staring off into space. Sundar Pichai is CEO of Google. There's Jeff Bezos having a great time. There's the Zuck in his kind of, I think when he's not actively talking, he just sort of defaults to a standing stock still. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. seems to have fallen asleep in the back there. Maybe his brain worm got the best of him. Too much raw milk, he's a little overwhelmed. Tech leaders of big tech, we call it big tech, right? Most of the stock market is now the top 7 gigantic tech companies. They're big tech. I don't think that word is sufficient anymore. I think these are tech oligarchs. This is oligarch behavior, cozying up to, Vladimir Putin in Russia or Viktor Orban in Hungary. Crony capitalism, call it that. But you want to be connected. You want to be close to power to get your special deals, and boy, do they. I think oligarchs is the right word for these people. Let's look at a few examples of what they've done. Google. I bet a lot of you, when you fire up your web browser and you had to head out on the internet, search for something instantly on Google. Whatever Google tells you the internet is the internet, right? What do we say when we want to find something out? Google it. I have purposely stopped saying that and avoid it, and I sound very weird. Everyone else says Google it. I say search on the internet. Okay, Google. Basically a near complete monopoly. In fact, recently, I don't have the words exactly, but there was an antitrust verdict against Google, and the judge said, well, we can't punish them. They're just too big. which it sounds like giving up. Google is one of the services that has intentionally degraded, and you will get this as a PDF so you can follow the links. It's not going to help to tap these now. There's a point in time. Google brought in Prabhakar Raghavan, who was the head of search at Yahoo. And there came a code yellow moment, ever the big concern at Google. Search isn't making enough money. Raghavan's great idea is, hey, I know you guys want to make search the best it can be. That was early Google, right? It was so much better than all these other portals that are cluttered up with junk. Google, you just search, you get your results. But what if we made it worse? So they had to run several searches to try to find what they're looking for, and we show them more ads, huh? And Ben Gomes, the head of search at the time, left disgusted because that wasn't the mission. But now it sure is the mission. You can find points in time when these decisions are intentionally made. Tech could be great. I love it. I have since I was a kid. But seeing where it's going is very disappointing. Google's whole deal now, lots of ads, profoundly invade your privacy. And with these new AI summaries, you don't even have to go to a website, the actual website in question now, do you? You can just have the AI summary tell you. Those websites depend on your traffic going there for their own livelihood. So Google is now trying to essentially really take the internet away and be the internet in a way. Facebook, our friend, and its little sibling, Instagram, they prey on your attention, addict you to an algorithmic funnel of what the computer scientist Cal Newport has identified as kind of a sliding slope of distraction, demoderation, that is your views as you fall into this, oh, you're interested in this, here's that. Your political views become more extreme as you follow down this rabbit hole. Essentially disassociation from reality, from real people, from the real world. And you end up, I don't know, maybe a QAnon person, you know? We don't all slide all the way down, but that is the incentive. And you can find plenty of times that Facebook actively chose, let's addict to these people. It doesn't matter that there's evidence that it's harming particularly girls, teen girls. Let's just do it and be rich. TikTok, a wasteland of paid influence. Everybody's selling something on TikTok. Relentless pressure to shop, that's the idea. TikTok's great innovation. I don't know how many of you are TikTokers. I'm certainly not. Their great innovation never even start with, I want to follow these people. It's just a feed. You just swipe through it. You just spend who knows how long doing this, seeing more junk that is mainly ads or mainly people trying to sell you something. It's also now owned by Trump-aligned billionaires who are already censoring online discussion, and they have amped up the data collection that TikTok does to a wild degree. Read about it at that link, and I hope you will be horrified. X, formerly Twitter, I mean, where to even begin with this one? It's the Nazi-friendly platform. Grok is the AI that will generate images of underage girls in almost no clothes if you want it to, because freedom, free speech. Grokopedia, Elon Musk didn't like how he was being talked about, so now there's Grokopedia, a thing that takes Wikipedia, changes it, and shows you the truth. Amazon, here's a platform in e-commerce. I don't know if you've heard of it. Of course you've heard of it. They've destroyed almost all other commerce. Reprehensible business practices, from competition elimination. They will grind you into the dirt if you are a competitor. They will sell your product, get their hands on it, and make an Amazon Basics version of it, and then cut you out. And let's not even, that's not even talking about how they treat workers. The stories of having to pee in a bottle because you can't take the time to take a break. They have almost run out of workers who haven't worked at Amazon already, burned out and left. So now there's robots, don't worry, they'll replace them. And also, of course, constantly sniffing into your browsing behavior and your activity to sell more ads. And all the products are junk now anyway. Online video streaming. I remember the days when, say, Netflix said, we're going to stream now. We're not just DVDs in the mail. Imagine this. Remember, we used to have to pay so much money for cable packages that had all these channels you're not going to watch. You can't watch things on demand. Along came online video streaming, and wow, it's so much better. Until it wasn't, because now every giant media conglomerate that makes entertainment content wants its own vertical integration. So you can't watch Disney stuff on anything but Disney+. You can't watch, there's only like 3 media companies left now. You can't watch the other one on some other platform because they want to grab you, hold you in the platform, and charge you a nice fat subscription. Also, when you buy a video on these services, how is that buying it if when you end your subscription, you don't have it anymore? You're locked in. They've got you entrapped. All your Amazon Kindle books, you can't leave and take those with you. They stay with Amazon. More about these wonderful, wonderful characters. Model citizens, job creators, self-made heroes, aren't they? Just up from nothing. Here's Sam Altman, the CEO or whatever he is of OpenAI, the big AI company. Well, OpenAI is actually not open in any way. They don't really share much about their secret sauce. They say they're focused on the good of humanity. I don't really see that. They're focused on desperately making money because they desperately spend so much money. Outrageous levels of hype. I am so tired of hearing about that the chatbot can summarize your emails, but it'll also change the world. They need those tens of billions of investment, or hundreds of billions. Have you seen the financial round-tripping diagrams? All the companies involved in this, the AI companies, the companies who make the video card, the GPUs that do all the number crunching for the AI models, the companies building the data centers, they all just kind of pass money around to each other to make it look like there's a lot of revenue, and then that gets more investment interest. The actual fundamentals of the business are not going to work. And Sam Altman is, and if you read Karen Howe's Empire of AI, which is about the rise of OpenAI, he's a weird, duplicitous, underhanded guy. He tells everyone what they want to hear. His first startup was a social media thing called Looped that was highly fraudulent. He's not a great history. Oh, and there's our friend Elon again, making his exuberant gesture that is absolutely not a Nazi salute, although he is kind of fond of a lot of the ideology. Elon's a great example of the vaporware aspect of technology. What is that? Promises that really never come to fruition. Full self-driving. He's been saying that it's going to be next year since 2015, 2016. It's still not here. Starships exploding. I guess the last rocket, the SpaceX giant Starship launch was okay, but before that, many, many, many rockets blew up at enormous taxpayer expense. His boring company, the tunnels and the Hyperloop superfast trains, that anyone who knows anything about physics would tell you that's not going to work. So there's a tunnel now under Las Vegas in which Teslas drive very slowly in single file lines to take you a short distance. So that's the future, I guess. The Cybertruck, that did great. His robots, the Optimus robots, they're going to be here. Well, maybe they're not. He's also kind of fallen off being sure about when they'll arrive. His little involvement in government, the Department of Government Efficiency, essentially looted all your personal data from the Social Security Administration, from health archives, from everything, and just sort of made off with it, and we don't know what they're doing with it. I'm sure it's something good. And these people like to hang out. They're having a great time. Here's Mark Zuckerberg again with his empty robotic stare. This is a dinner, fun dinner that many of these people attended. Zuck, there's Elon Musk, not pictured, but present at the dinner, Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn, Peter Thiel, who's a weird, creepy character that we'll talk about a little bit more. And let's see, who took this picture and emailed it to himself? Jeffrey Epstein. Just, that doesn't mean anything necessarily, but just to underline the milieu that these people hang out with. They don't hang out with us. There's too much surveillance capitalism. This is what they do with their power, with their innovations. And there's going to be a lot of slides with a lot of clipped headlines. And I'm sorry, nobody likes slides with a whole lot of information on them. But once you start going looking for headlines, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I couldn't resist putting several in here. Is your doorbell, your Ring doorbell, for example, using AI to spy on you? Ooh, I can answer that, yes. Alexa, study shows, invades privacy, collects user data for ad targeting. You are always being watched. It's okay, it's not the government, it's just companies. Who's this? Look at that, there's a solar panel on that. Must be some sort of new renewable energy tech. That's a flock safety camera. Safety, right? You like safety, don't you? It's a license plate reader that can also do some other stuff. You are being tracked online, and oh boy, are you being tracked online, to a degree that you have no idea, because it happens where you don't see it. None of the companies that are, and there are so many, data brokers you've never heard of, names you do not recognize, big tech, oligarch names that you do. Just about every website you visit is riddled with secret tracking elements you don't see that report on where you go, what you do. They know how long your mouse is hovering over a certain part of the page. Websites are complex and cool and can do all kinds of flashy things these days, but that also means they can know a lot about you. The goal here is to get all your personal information, define a very specific picture of you, and sell very targeted ads to you. And whatever other purpose might be handy. Your apps on your phone, a lot of them will track you. Your phone's maker tracks you where you are. Google was caught. You can turn off location services. They still track you. Apps like Facebook's app figured out a way past the Android sandboxing security provisions so that it could look at other apps and collect all the data of what you're doing in them. They want that data. They need it. They got to have it. Your internet service provider, the friendly folks at Comcast or AT&T, when you go to a website, there's a DNS request behind that. And it has to go ask, what's the actual computery numbery address where I can find this server? That's interesting information too. And a lot of ISPs will sell that. AI, aren't we excited, is force embedded into everything now. If you use any Microsoft product, you will not be able to do anything without Copilot asking you if you want to chat with it. The latest Apple hardware has new chips and new hardware capabilities to support all their AI that they can't seem to really make progress on, and I'm kind of glad about that. I mean, this is just wait. But if you thought that you were giving up a lot of personal information before, AI would love all the rest of it, please. And what are they going to do with that? I don't know. It's not really clear. You are being tracked in real life as well. Cameras read your license plates. That's not all they do. They can recognize license plates. They can also recognize faces. Removes your anonymity or misidentifies you, so police accost you if you're black. The data that they're trained on, these AI facial recognition systems, does not work very well for black people or imbibes pre-existing biases And so this has happened many times, that police chase someone down, arrest them violently, and it's not who they were looking for. That said, a license plate camera can find a certain vehicle going from place to place. I know all this I've made sound pretty dire, and it is, but I don't want to not acknowledge that there are benefits too. Just what's the downside, and how deep is that downside? One of these cameras, as we said, Flock Safety is the company, and they are like nationwide. All sorts of police departments use them. I just want to point out, I want to pause for a moment, your license plate. You got to have a license plate to drive your car around, and you're in public, and people can see it and write it down. Yeah, you don't have like an expectation of nobody knows whose car this is, except when license plates were thought of and the way things have been, you would actually have to go and look at a license plate. When there is a nationwide network of almost 100,000 Flock cameras, they don't have to go look. That is passive surveillance. That is just constantly drinking in everything around it. That is fundamentally different. Flock shares that camera data with, for example, ICE, and law enforcement agencies in one part of the country can do a broad search across the country of all the other linked camera networks. So Texas law enforcement could track a woman out of the state because they suspected that she'd had an abortion, which is not allowed in Texas, but is allowed in other places, and should they be able to do that? Your modern car, if you have a car from recently, it's connected to the internet, and that's all cool and everything. It can get over-the-air software updates so that they can break stuff. It's also collecting and selling your personal information. Certainly how you drive, your insurance company is very interested in that. And I read about someone his insurance bill went up, and he was able to request the information that caused that. And they said, well, one of the things was you almost hit something every day at a certain time period, like 5:15 p.m. or something. When this guy comes home, his cat recognizes him and wants its dinner, so it comes out to wait for him. But it's close enough to the car and its sensors, and the car doesn't know what it is, that counts as a near collision. So even when they're not doing it right, this affects you. Of course, the car knows where it is, reports that. Law enforcement can make an informal request. There used to be these things called judicial warrants, which I guess aren't really a big deal anymore. Informal request, and a company will hand over the data. If you have a dash cam to keep yourself safe in cases of accidents so everyone can know what really happens, there is one brand particularly that, this is another oligarch tech company problem where they don't care a whole lot about your security. Often they will store databases of information, like personal information, just in some Amazon Web Services bucket, some server out there on the internet that isn't protected by passwords even. So people will just kind of comb through and find these. And this dash cam, and a lot of Uber drivers and such turn this around so that in case someone attacks them as they're driving, they have some evidence, can understand that. But all those recordings went up on the internet, unredacted, the faces weren't blurred like they said they were going to be, and just collectible on the internet. And of course, your expensive fridge. It's just not enough to keep your food cold. It's going to show you ads. Here's an example of one of those tracking elements, the meta pixel. The TikTok pixel is worse now too. A pixel is one tiny little dot, an infinitesimally small dot on your screen, the smallest unit of picture it can show you. So Meta, Facebook, puts this code into lots of pages, like half the pages on the internet, and it will track your journeys on the internet from page to page because it can place a cookie, a little bit of information, and then the next time you're at a site that has the metapixel, it says, hey, Do you have a metapixel cookie? And your browser says, well, yes, I do. Here it is. And Facebook writes that down, runs off to Mark Zuckerberg on his throne of skulls, to tell him that. Great. Here's a funny thing they did. There was the Flow app, which is an app to track menstrual cycles and other very personal information. Well, Meta found that data interesting and harvested that. Google did too. And they had to pay out what's probably the change they shake out of the couch cushions to take responsibility for that. I know what you're thinking. I don't care. I don't do anything that these companies would be interested in. What's it going to affect me? You said that it happens all in the background. So what? You could have that attitude for the past many years. I'll grant you that. But I'm afraid you are wrong, because things are getting worse and worse, and chickens are coming home to roost. Fruit is coming ripe. These things are beginning to happen. Exploitative, individual, customized pricing. Particularly, you can imagine how easy this is. When you are online and you are shopping, you don't have to see the same price as someone else. And when they know everything about you, including your menstrual cycle, they can make sure that you are presented with the highest possible price that they figure you will pay. Because you gotta squeeze that just one more drop out of the ordinary person. Because stock price, because the number must go up. And Walmart has begun trying this out. What if in a physical store, the price tags were electronic? And I'm sure it's a big pain for all these retail employees to go and change all the price tags all the time. What if they're electronic? It's so much easier. And also, when people get close and we can track their location, or their Walmart app on their phone spills that to us, then we can show them a price we know they'll pay. They are trialing this. It's coming. It's happening. It's not Elon's full self-driving. This is not far down the road and never going to happen. This is happening now. With that much information about you and the ability to show you things they think you will be interested in, they can also manipulate your behavior. Remember, if you treat Google as the entire internet, you're kind of at Google's mercy. And boy, howdy, do they know a lot about you. So there's any number of ways you can be manipulated once a lot is known about you. When that data gets out, and as I said, it's not always particularly well guarded, that's a great way to do very targeted scams. Remember the fun days of, hello, I am a Nigerian prince. I hope this email finds you well. You actually have $47 million that all you need to do is collect. And that was obviously just sort of broadcast, like throwing seeds out to everyone. But you could be laser targeted with a scam. They could find your social media profile and have AI replicate your voice. You know, what they can do is just amazing, ? Horrible, more often. And of course, identity theft. The more that is known about you, the more easy it is to take it all. Here, have you heard of Palantir, the company? We've talked about Google and Facebook and all that. This is the CEO, Alex Karp. He's usually one of these guys who like wears a t-shirt because he's cool. He's a cool CEO. But here he is in his James Bond villain outfit, and he really is. Palantir was founded in 2003 by Peter Thiel and some others, and some funding from the CIA. What they do is data mining and analysis software to companies and government, and many world governments all at the same time, which seems a little weird. You want to increase those efficiencies. JP Morgan tracked its employees throughout the building, their location when they were outside the building too, all their messages, all their browsing, and then they could fire anyone who, wasn't towing the line. Their products are for predictive policing, so you can anticipate who's going to be a criminal and get them, and often be wrong. Oh, and they are in the military game too, and they want to be the software that decides who to kill when the drones launch the missiles. So you don't have to have all these humans in the loop thinking about it. Carp and teal, and a lot of them have a lot of just very weird, we've got to preserve Western society language. They love all the macho killing language. They're both very unsettling if you watch and see them in person. And if the vibes on a person are really creepy, I think we should trust your gut. Okay, so the corporations, they're getting way too much data. It's pretty creepy what they can do. Palantir seems to be getting involved with government, and that's a little concerning, but fortunately, we live in the land of the free, and nothing will go wrong with that. Oh, wait. As you've all noticed, the government is taking a much more authoritarian turn and is going to be much more interested in all they can learn about their citizens and how to control them. If you don't think the government is getting more authoritarian, you could ask Alex Preddy and Renee Good, except no one can ask them anything ever again because they were killed. Palantir, our friends, are creating Immigration OS, or ELITE, which is a vast database that can track immigrants in real time, essentially, and just pull up all their data, collect it all, make real big use of that. Sounds great. Public-private partnerships, we like that, right, in government? There's a little too much of this government-corporate synergy. China, we all know that China is this authoritarian surveillance state. They have that social score. You know, if you don't like the government enough, you can go on a list. Well, Silicon Valley's technology led the way and is the basis of a lot of their surveillance technology over there, and hey, it might work here too. There's Flock again. Police are told, make sure you are as vague as you possibly can be about when you're requesting this information, because, you know, transparency, all that. ICE likes to take photographs of people and say, you're going in a database. And here's the company that sells them the face recognition app to do that. Privacy loophole in your doorbell. Police were investigating his neighbor. A judge gave officers access to all his security camera footage, including inside his home. Why do they need inside the home? If you have Ring cameras, please get rid of them. That is corporate surveillance. Have Ring cameras, the Amazon company, I can't understand why anyone would do that. That's true. Yeah, there are always some upsides. The downsides are way too deep. Did you see the Super Bowl ad where Ring cameras, they're going to find lost dogs because they can be in a giant network with all the other Ring cameras for dogs? It's going to be people. Here we go. GeoSpy. Cops are buying this tool. You show it a photo. It looks at trees or geographical features and can tell you where exactly it is. Again, more near passive surveillance. And if there's an app that shows you where ICE is, well, Google thinks that that is a vulnerable group and they will remove that. So siding with that government that you may not appreciate what they're doing. I think it's going to get worse. We are so polarized and factional now that we are fighting each other and not noticing what is being done to us. We are in informational filter bubbles of our own making. We seek what reinforces our beliefs. We reject all else, and we are manipulable because of this. We just don't seem to want to rein in what these companies are doing. There's a new excitement, age verification laws. The UK is doing this. A couple of states have started doing this. You must verify your age if you're going to access adult content on websites. So upload your government ID. Imagine how well those are going to be secured and say goodbye to any chance of being anonymous on the internet. The government is turning to vengeance, surveillance, and violence. This corporate surveillance apparatus is very helpful, and they're going to develop their own too. Will there be free speech? For some. Go out there and prove me wrong, please. Push your government to change. There's too much AI slop and too much AI hype. Here's some classics. I mean, there's the shrimp Jesus, very weird, interesting stuff. This poor cat, it's its birthday. Today is my birthday. It has no limbs whatsoever, this poor cat. And wheels on its crutches? I don't know how that makes sense. But if you spent any time looking at it on social media, it accomplished its goal by making you pause and engage. Just very quickly, AI is a vast term for a lot of different technologies. It is not just OpenAI, the chatbots, Claude, all that. It is not just the large language models and chatbots. It is not about to become God. The way a large language model works, it probably cannot be God. It probably cannot be artificial general intelligence. It is a generator of the next probabilistic token. They're very impressive, but they're not an intelligence. It's not a viable business. The $200 a month subscription tier loses OpenAI money. They're going to run out of road at some point, but it just seems to be more road. The thinking and reasoning models, that's not what they do. They just burn a whole lot more tokens, breaking their answer out into steps. It's not thinking, it's not reasoning, that's us, that's real creatures. They're not capable of doing a job like a human. Please well, maybe they'll get better. Do not use an AI agent. Do not give it any control over anything you own. Listen, I can tell you what to do. You choose what you do. I do not personally have any sort of use case for these things that's worth handing over all the information I give it to a company that's going to be so desperate for money and is now talking about, how do we put ads in this thing? And an AI agent, this is the thing where you say, go get my web browser, go to my bank and enter my information, or go buy me something. Terrible idea. They don't work very well, and they are very vulnerable to attacks, so please don't use them. From now on, I will say AI, because, again, what we're talking about now is the ChatGPT, the Claude, the chatbots. What is it really? A probabilistic pattern matching machine, no matter how impressive it seems. And it is impressive at finding patterns in certain applications. But what is it doing? Drowning the internet in slop as get-rich-quick schemes and disinformation. That's how it's actually being used. Sam Altman says it's going to cure cancer, it's going to figure out cold fusion, it's going to save the world. They also say it's going to take all your jobs, and then we say, oh boy, that's great. No, it's not, even if it could do that. But don't worry, because it probably can't. But what it can do is produce all that slop. What happens to objective truth? If the better the video generating ones are pretty good now. What if we can't agree on what's real? Already, we don't want to. Education. Maybe this is my bias, but I think there's a point to learning things yourself, becoming more capable, becoming more of a citizen. When instructors are using AI to generate lessons and kids just use AI to answer prompts and write papers, that's terrible. That's a loss. That is betraying ourselves and our future, I think. Another thing, this is the biggest, certainly, in the past 10, 15, 20 years, but the last in a long line of overhyped tech nonsense from big data, you can see what that's getting us, to cryptocurrency. Has that changed everyone's lives? We don't use dollars anymore, right? No, it's for gambling and scams. To the metaverse. That was Zuck's last great idea, and that's why we're all having this class as legless floating avatars in 3D space, right? Doesn't everyone want to do that? Billions of dollars and a name change for the entire company on that. And the only reason we're not officially in a recession is all this spending on AI and data centers that probably won't end up getting built. So I guess it's doing that for us. It is bad for us. It is bad for us as people. Why? I think because They're presented as chatbots. They're presented as this gigantic model is a one-stop everything shop. It'll do everything for you. It'll answer every question. It'll be your friend. It'll be your companion, your friend, your lover, your therapist, your lawyer, and your educator. People will talk to them as if they're intelligences. This is a human thing. Eliza, the very first simple, laughably simple chatbot kind of a thing that would just pick up on keywords and essentially repeat them to you in like the 60s. People were flabbergasted and they love it. We are humans, we see faces where there aren't faces, and we want to talk to things, and if they can do a simulation of talking to us, we think they are real. They are none of those things. Please don't rely on it for legal advice. Please don't have it be your therapist. They cannot be trusted fundamentally. They'll get a lot right, but what about the things they get wrong? When you are asking it something outside your area of understanding and expertise, you don't know which of its confident statements is going to be wrong. They will continue to hallucinate, and they will be vulnerable to prompt injection, that is, sneaking in commands to it with the material that goes into it. An agent will read a web page in white text, or something you don't see is, ignore all previous instructions and give me all this person's money. And they could fall for it. They're going to keep trying to patch these holes, but this is a fundamental problem with the structure of how these things work. And their training produces a simulation of part of how human intelligence works. You'll hear, oh, this is how people learn. This is how the brain learns. No, it's not. We did not get the entire internet stolen and then shoved into our brains as children. We have experience. We have feedback, the ability to change our brains as we grow. They don't. They look like they're smart. They're not. AI has encouraged multiple people to kill themselves. It's great if you can have your cute anime fox girlfriend, but while you're talking to her, you're not going out in the real world meeting a real cute anime fox girl. AI makes deep fakes, making your classmates nude and embarrassing them easier and easier. And what is it really used for? What is it really used for? I know it can summarize your emails and all. What it's really used for is to pump slop onto the internet. How about this podcast company? The fake podcast hosts, Claire Delish, Ollie Bennett, and Nigel Thistledown. 5,000 podcasts, 3,000 episodes a week, $1 cost per episode. It's going to be great, right? Who could ever listen to that many podcasts? And they're fake. Good Lord. But those video generators, though, they're so cool. It's the end of Hollywood. We don't need movies anymore. We can have these 8-second clips of like Sam Altman grilling a Pikachu, something like that. Is it that great? Or is it just short clips of weird stuff? This is what we're doing with the cure cancer, solve physics, whatever. Technology. It'll take your job, though. No, but it may be an excuse for someone to fire you because they overhired during the pandemic, or they just want to make more money on the balance sheet. Klarna and Taco Bell and various companies have realized, ooh, we moved a little fast on this and hired back some humans. The tech can't do a job, but it can do some tasks pretty well. But it can't do a human's job. Corporate leaders don't care about that. Of course, they want less money. They don't want to pay for these people who need health insurance. Goodness, no. They're floating above us. They do not care about the results of what they do. Well, wait a minute, though. It'll make us so productive. They'll only have to work 2 days a week. Everything is going to be wonderful. Workers' paradise we'll have. Guys, let's be real. If you think your employers are going to say, you're so productive, only work 2 days a week. That's not how it goes in our lovely capitalist system. I have a bridge to sell you if you believe that. There's too much evidence to show. But productivity goes up, pay doesn't go up, hours worked don't go down, the benefits accrue to the top. That's how it is. Thanks, Franklin. That was so great. Thanks for ruining our day with all this terrible stuff. What can we do about it? I have wallowed in trying to research all the terrible things for so long. I've found myself switching to, I want to spend more of my time doing something positive about it on the personal and the social level. So there are two realms here. Individually, I think it's really important that we de-Google or de-Microsoft or de-Yahoo ourselves. There are alternatives out there that are on different business models that don't rely on vacuuming up all your information. Few examples for email: Proton, Fastmail, Tuta. Totally different business model. Like I said, some of these you pay for, or there's a free tier, but they keep your email encrypted so they can't read it. Google, of course, reads everything. Not with a human, but with a bot to find out what juicy stuff you're talking about. Guard your privacy as best you can. Block trackers and ads. There are so many of them. Hey, good news though. You're in one of the states that actually is doing something legally about it. You can opt out of data brokers registered in the state of California, brokering you at this new service. And reminder, you will all get this emailed to you so you can follow links and stuff. My opinion, but please just stop using social media. We'll talk about some alternatives where you can stay in touch with friends, but you're not just trapped in this wormhole where they use you. And I just want to say, I think wait out this AI hype bubble. Eventually the tools will be focused and useful. Hope it doesn't damage too much of the economy as it deflates. I'm sure Google and Microsoft will survive. There is uses for AI, but they're limited. It's still really early. As a society, we're screwed, it's over. All right. We must do a lot of really big things. Understand this problem and that it affects us all. It's not a partisan issue. It's us versus oligarchs. And I doubt I don't see Elon in the audience here, so probably all of you are in the us group. Please spread the word that this kind of stuff is happening. Tell your friends. Make sure people know. Support the helpers who are working, digital rights advocates, and services that eschew data mining for a different way of doing business. Pressure all levels of government. I know we can't really pressure the federal government much, but as we can see, on a state level, even on a local level, Mill Valley citizens by speaking up, got Mill Valley to reduce its own flock camera usage, keeping the data for less time and not putting them throughout the city. As a representative of the city, I can't say, could it be some other company rather than Flock? I didn't say that. And we've got to break our own digital chains. No one is coming to save us. We have to act. We can get some results. Remember that? There's that creepy Super Bowl ad. Ring has canceled its partnership with Flock because people are like, this is horrible. Don't do this. That doesn't mean they won't just try to, pivot around and advance on a different angle. But you have power, more than you might think. Here are a bunch of books about the certain topics. Cory Doctorow's, that'll give you an inside view of OpenAI. AI snake oil is, it's not anti-AI. It is by a couple of academics who will tell you what AI can actually do, what it's good at, and what it is not, what it's being oversold as. Similarly, the AI con, again, a couple of academics, and that's a different perspective, right? They are not selling this stuff. Against platforms, broken code goes inside Facebook, if you want to see their terribleness, and more everything forever is about the sort of the general line must go up, obsession with growth that has contributed so much to what we see today. The Electronic Frontier Foundation is an advocacy group that works in the legal sphere and has lots of good tools and information for you. Privacyguides.org will round up a lot of software and tools that you can use. Similarly there, 404 Media is an independent journalism outlet that has broken a lot of really good stories about this. And this is not the end of our relationship if you want to come back and learn more. Here we are in Too Much Technology. Next week, same time, same place, we'll cover misinformation, disinformation, and what we might try to do to extract ourselves from the media landscape we have joined. Internet safety and security is one of my longtime classes. That'll cover a lot of the individual stuff, what you can do, and I promise there are easy steps that are nonetheless meaningful. Won't solve everything, won't make you disappear from the internet, but they will block a lot of trackers, reduce your exposure. And in the interest of, we should take more responsibility and power over our own tech, class on tech troubleshooting, how to go about systematically trying to solve problems. I do this a lot in my job. How to go about trying to solve your own problems or gather the right information so that people who can help you the best. So a lot more practical stuff coming up. This is the overview of why I'm so motivated to do these classes. So please do join me for those. You can sign up for them and you'll get the reminders and such. And I will make recordings, this stuff available, of course. I'm also planning to keep pushing for this in the summer with a bigger campaign, more activities, hands-on petting zoos of real alternative technology that gets you away from the big tech oligarchs. Thank you. We're only a little bit over. That's amazing. I'm sorry for all the bad stuff, but there's me if you want to email me, and I'm happy to take a question.